Hey guys, what's up? I'm Brian from Fisher's Off-Road, and today I'm going to be answering your questions about the brand new 2025 Defender Limited. Now, every year the Limited comes out, Can-Am seems to add a little bit more to it to make it even sweeter than it was last year. Well, this year, they've got some pretty cool upgrades, and I'll go over those with you. But then I'm also going to answer a question that I get quite often is, how cold is that air coming out of the HVAC system? Is it really AC, or is it just kind of like some air coming out of there? Well, today we got a temp gun and we're going to shoot that air and see just how cold it is coming out of the HVAC. So first up on the list, we're going to cover something that is an industry first, and that is the tinted windows. Can-Am has gone way above and beyond this year. What they do is they listen to their customers, and things that they really wanted was tinted windows. And I feel it because when I had a 2023 Limited Max, one of the things I was like, man, this would look so good with tinted windows. So now they've taken care of that. And I'm going to tell you something, they did it right, because the problem with tinted windows a lot of times, and if you have a vehicle and you've gotten tinted windows, you know that if you make the front too dark, you can't see at night. And that's the thing about if you're off-roading at night, you really don't want dark tinted windows. Now in the summertime, you can put your windows down, but if it's in the wintertime and you got that heat kicking and you got your windows up and it's too dark to see any obstacles, that really doesn't do you any good. So Can-Am has a really good balance. They have the front windows done, and then they also have the windshield done. Now I've got about probably 6 to 8 hours of seat time in one of these 2025 Defender Limited Maxes, and I can tell you right now, the front tint windshield makes a big difference when you're driving into the sun. Before, it would be like, oh man, you're just getting blasted, but this really does make a big difference. And then if we look at the back passenger doors, they are darker. You'll notice that this is a lot darker. This is probably getting to about like a 30% tint. And then the back glass is the same as those back windows right there, probably about a 30. But I got to tell you something, when this machine is cruising down the trail, it looks really, really good with these tinted windows. And it's hard to believe that Can-Am is the first one to do it. I can't believe that nobody has done this up until now, especially on these cab models, because they are pretty salty, they're expensive, and you would think that they would have the tinted windows already. But kudos to Can-Am for getting that done, and it cuts down on your solar heat inside of the cab by 39% by putting the tint on there. So that's really going to be beneficial with that HVAC system. It's not going to have to work as hard. It's just going to really do a much better job out on the trail and even around the farm or hunting or whatever you're using it for. The next thing on the list we're going to talk about is the new upgraded locks on the door handles. Now, this is really cool because if you're like us, especially here in Middle Tennessee, we use these vehicles like our regular everyday driver. We'll go to a restaurant and we'll go in and get something to eat, or we'll go to a store. And if you're, say, like on the Hatfield-McCoy Trail, you know how it is down there. You'll ride somewhere and you'll get something to eat. And one of the things that's always kind of been top of mind when you go in, especially if you have some valuables inside your cab, is, you know, what if somebody gets in there and steals it? Well, Can-Am took care of that this year. They got a locking door system, and it works pretty good, actually. I mean, it's neat because, you know, your door handle locks, and then on the inside, there's no locks on the inside. This is a separate key. This is not the same key as your ignition key. So you'll have an ignition key, and then you're gonna have a door lock key. So you have those separated. So we have the door locked here. We're gonna go ahead and open it up so I can get in, and then we're gonna go ahead and lock it. Now we'll get inside, shut the door, and see if we can open it. So you can still open the door from the inside even though it's locked on the outside. I don't know that you're going to be rolling through any dangerous areas, but if you are, at least you know you can lock the door from the outside and nobody can get into you. Another thing that Can-Am did was they got some feedback from you, the riders, and one of the things they talked about was a more robust seal for the doors, you know, to keep the elements out, the dust and everything else. So this seal is definitely upgraded, definitely more robust, and will do a much better job of keeping the elements outside where they belong. And if your door isn't shutting enough, if you can still see some light through there in a couple places and you want to make it even tighter, all you have to do is loosen this up and slide it in. This is like a slide bracket right here, so you can slide this in a little bit further. If you take this and put this all the way in, you have a hard time shutting the door because the seal is so thick. So you can move it in a little bit, so that way when you do shut your door, you have an extremely tight seal. The next upgrade we're going to talk about, and this is something that we've actually been requesting for a while now, and that is a speed limiter. On all 2025 Defenders, they have speed limiters now. So you can limit the speed. You just go in here to your menu, hit that, and go to your settings, hit OK, and then you see speed limit. Okay, so we're going to hit OK. And you'll see it starts out at 5 miles per hour. Now you can increase that by 1 mile an hour increments up to 20 miles an hour. So we'll go settings, speed limit. All right, so you see we're flashing there. So we're gonna go 5, 6, 7. You can go all the way up to 20 miles an hour. Now, once we get up there, like let's say we wanna go 20. All right, we hit OK. So what happens is when this is on, this is always going to be here. It's always going to say 20 miles per hour. That's the speed that it's locked at. And then there's a little indicator up here in the upper left-hand section of your screen. It looks like a speedometer. When that's on and that's on, whatever mile an hour it's set to, that's where it's going to go. Now you're going to have full power until you get up to that speed, and then it just won't go any faster. Now you might be saying, well, why would I want to limit my speed? Well, there's a lot of times where I personally have been out spraying and I'm trying to keep my speed regulated, and I'm trying to watch the sprayer, and you know, I'm trying to stay at like 5 miles an hour. Next thing I look up and I'm doing 12 to 15 miles an hour. Or if I'm seeding, that's another thing. And also, like with our commercial division, we rent out to construction sites. A lot of construction sites will have speed limits that you aren't allowed to go over 20, 25 miles an hour. So it's nice to be able to lock that into 20 and know that you don't have to even think about your speed. So now what we're going to do is we're going to answer that question of how cold is the AC in a Defender Limited. And we're going to go ahead and fire this up. And you can hear it coming out there pretty good. And you're on T-min, which is probably about 56 degrees. There's our fan, it's on high. There's cool, you can change that to heat. And then there's your fan, you can change that to low, medium, high. And then this is the minimum setting for AC. So if you start going up, you can change your temperature. And believe me, when this thing is blowing and it's cold, it is cold. The same way with the heat. When you have the heat on in here, it will literally drive you out. Even if it's 10 degrees outside, the heat is kicking. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna shoot this in Fahrenheit, and we've only been running a couple minutes and we're already at 53 degrees coming out of the vent. Now we're shooting back into the back of the vent there where it's coming out. We're already at 39 degrees coming out of that vent. And I can tell you right now, sitting here, it's cold. We're here in Middle Tennessee, and today the temperature is going to be about 70, 71. So we're climbing pretty quick to that temperature right now. 32 degrees. So just between this HVAC system and how cold the air gets and the tinted windows, this is one of the best setups that you can have for a cab unit where you're running HVAC. And I know there's a couple other units out there. We've run some of the other units, and they just really don't compare to this HVAC system. This is a true HVAC system. And I can tell you right now, this HVAC system works better than the one in our 2020 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon. 27 degrees. So that just gives you an idea exactly what you're getting into if you do happen to get a Can-Am Defender Limited or a Lone Star and you want to run the air. I'm telling you, this system here is really good because we still have defrosters up here. So if you want more air, see this lint right here blowing, how hard that's coming out there? Now this is really good for the winter time because if your windshield's icing up You know, you can open those up and you can close these if you want. And there's also floor vents, so if your feet or your legs get hot or cold, you can open those up down there as well. So it's a lot of vent options, and it's just like, you know, a truck, you know, just basically like your vehicle. So in the wintertime, you have a wiper and you have defrosters, so it's really set up just like a real truck's HVAC system. If you see where my hand is, there's a vent down here, just like this one. So you can open this up and you can feel it coming out down there. And that's great for wintertime. If your feet or your legs are cold, you can open that up. Or if you want to open all of them up for the AC and just get as much airflow as you can into the cab when it's hot out, you know, that's really going to make a big difference. To turn your air on, you hit this button right here, it's going to bring it on. So right now we are in, you got a snowflake up here, that's your AC. So when you hit this button one time, you can go between cool, auto, heat, cool. All right, so we're staying on cool, and then here's our fan. So you push it and you can go low, medium, high, and then you push it again and it takes you back to your main setting. Now what you can do is control your temperature here. You can go turn it up and turn it down. So now let's say you're going down the trail, you've got it in AC right where you want it. You're in low right now, maybe you want a little bit more air, touch that twice and you go to your fan speed. Touch it again, you go back to your main readout of where you're at. You're on AC, fans on low, you're at 58 degrees. And then when you're done with it, let's say you don't want it anymore, just turn it off. Super easy, very easy system to use. Well, there's the latest and greatest on the 2025 Can-Am Defender Limited. And if you're looking for the ultimate in luxury, whether you're using it around the ranch or hunting, property management, whatever you're using it for, if you want luxury off-road, the Defender Limited is where it's at.